Hey guys, Justin here. So today we are once again talking about Nikola stock, which is not surprising if you are a subscriber of my channel. But I wanted to make another video on Nikola because there is a lot of additional news that has come out over the past week. So the first part of this video will be catching you up on all of the latest Nikola stock news, and that includes updates with the GM partnership. And then I want to discuss Nikola's new business plan they recently released because it did cause Nikola stock to jump 24% on Wednesday. So I wanted to look at their plan and give you my thoughts on what I think is realistic and what is unrealistic. But first, if you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It is completely free and I promise you, you will not regret it. So before we get to some positive news with Nikola stock, let's go over the not so positive news first. The GM deal that was supposed to close on Tuesday has been delayed, which is not a good sign for Nikola. And there is not a lot of specific information at this point, but it looks like GM is attempting to renegotiate the deal. One of the potential sticking points that could be holding up the deal is the amount of cash Nikola has on hand. In Nikola's 10Q filing with the SEC, which was released on August 4th, Nikola listed they had $699 million of cash on hand at the time, which is less than the $700 million Nikola had pledged to GM. And this $700 million was going to help GM build out their manufacturing facility for the Badger pickup trucks. So in my opinion, part of negotiations are centering around this $700 million number. Also, GM originally agreed to an 11% stake in Nikola, which at the time the deal was announced was worth roughly $2 billion. But now it is worth closer to $1 billion. And that is of course because of the big drop in Nikola's stock price. So it is also possible that GM is renegotiating to try and get a higher stake in Nikola. Also, Nikola's new management has just put out a new timeline of events that is heavily focused on their commercial semi-trucks. And management has also said that this will be their primary focus moving forward. So it is entirely possible that GM is also wanting clarification on whether or not Nikola is still committed to the Badger pickup truck program. It might seem like a small detail, but if Nikola doesn't have the resources to focus on selling the Badger pickup truck, then it could hurt both companies. This is because while GM is making the trucks, Nikola is fully in charge of selling them, which does take a fair amount of resources. Nikola needs to set up logistics to deliver the trucks to their customers, and they might even need to build showrooms to facilitate sales like Tesla is doing. At the end of the day, if Nikola is unsuccessful in selling the Badger pickup trucks in large enough quantities, then neither GM nor Nikola will make any money. Also, something else that is likely impacting the deal is Nikola's plans to raise $700 million sometime between late 2021 and early 2022. Now, Nikola disclosed this plan in its June SEC filing, but the stock was much higher in June than it is now. And at current prices, it would cause a pretty big dilution to Nikola's shares. Also, an additional negative catalyst for Nikola stock is coming in December. This is something many of you mentioned in the comment section on my previous video, and it is of course the lockup expiration date. Now, it is a little complicated to explain, but basically private investors who bought Nikola stock before the IPO can begin selling their shares on December 21st. However, in order for them to be able to sell their shares, Nikola stock has to be trading above $12 a share. And it has to have traded above $12 a share for the past 20 out of 30 days. So if Nikola is trading above $12 a share on December 21st, we could see a big drop in its share price. This is because private investors own 15% of Nikola stock, which in and of itself is not a big deal. But 79% of those private investors have filed to sell all of their shares once the lockup period has expired. This could lead to a huge sell-off in Nikola stock at the end of this year and into next year. So clearly, when you combine all of these factors together, you can see why GM is trying to renegotiate the deal. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the deal gets postponed until sometime next year. That way, GM can wait and see where the stock price goes and what type of financial resources Nikola is able to come up with. Next, I want to get into the main part of this video, and that is Nikola's new business plan. And really, it's just a timeline of events from the new management, but I like that they are trying to shift the focus away from hype and towards execution. Now that Trevor Milton is gone, Nikola can't rely on hyped up marketing to grow as a company. Instead, they need to show results. And results can only be achieved by clearly communicating their business plan to investors and then successfully completing each step. So let's go ahead and look at this business plan, and then I will give you my thoughts on how realistic I think it is. So like I said earlier, this new timeline of events really isn't any different from Nikola's original plans. The only difference is that it is now laid out nicely in a timeline format. Because of this, I was surprised to see Nikola stock jump up on this news, but everyone likes it when businesses have a plan. So at the end of the day, this was considered positive news for Nikola. But that being said, you can see that management has split up their plan into 4 different categories. The first category is manufacturing, the second is for the Tre semi-truck, the third is for a fuel cell electric semi-truck, and the last category is for their hydrogen fueling stations. Now, out of all of these initiatives, the one I think Nikola has the best chance of succeeding at is with their Nikola Tre semi-truck. The Tre will be produced in Europe in partnership with CNH subsidiary Iveco, and it is expected to begin production by late next year. The Tre will also start out as a battery electric only, which I think is a smart move, and Nikola will use Iveco's manufacturing facilities, which is also a good sign. So I think the Tre has a really good chance of staying on schedule and being the first product to hit the market for Nikola. However, it's hard to say how lucrative the Tre will be for Nikola since there are no estimated manufacturing or sales numbers that are given by Nikola. But again, I am optimistic that Nikola, in cooperation with Iveco, can pull off manufacturing the Nikola Tre by late 2021. Now, unfortunately, the other 3 categories I am not as optimistic about. And the biggest reason I am not optimistic is because all 3 will require a lot of money. Also, what's troubling to me is that the most important aspect of Nikola's entire operation is not very well defined. In my opinion, the most important piece of the puzzle for Nikola is the hydrogen fueling stations. Without these, they won't be able to sell any trucks. And to make matters worse, outside of California, there is no existing infrastructure for hydrogen fueling stations, which only raises the amount of capital Nikola will need. Now, the interesting part about the timeline is that Nikola plans on building its first commercial hydrogen fueling station in Q2 of 2021. But it doesn't plan on manufacturing any fuel cell semi-trucks until the end of 2023. So I don't necessarily know if it's the best use of capital to build a hydrogen fueling station right away when none of their trucks will be using hydrogen stations until 2023. And I bring this up because I do think Nikola will have to be very smart with how they use their cash early on. Like I said earlier, Nikola only has $699 million of cash on hand, and their factory in Coolidge, Arizona is expected to cost $600 million alone. So Nikola will definitely need to raise more money next year if they are serious about hitting their goals. But other than lack of capital, competition will also make it difficult for Nikola to create a compelling product. There are a number of different well-known automakers that are currently developing battery electric semi-trucks for the European markets. And these well-established automakers such as Volvo will make it harder for Nikola to generate sales. Now, I am not very familiar with the European markets, so I can't say for sure what effect this will have on Nikola's sales. But in terms of the North American market, there is a very serious competitor to Nikola, which could cause him problems, and that, of course, is Tesla. Now, a lot of people have been commenting that Nikola has an advantage over Tesla because hydrogen has advantages over battery electric. But it looks like Nikola's strategy is to go head-to-head with Tesla by manufacturing and selling the battery electric Nikola Tre before selling its fuel cell semi-trucks. And for the record, I am not saying this is a bad strategy on Nikola's part. In fact, I think it is the option that makes the most sense for Nikola, because starting with a battery electric semi-truck means you don't have to build costly hydrogen stations before selling any trucks. But when you compare the Tesla Semi to the Nikola Tre, I don't think it's going to be a fair fight. The Tesla Semi can get 500 miles of range per charge thanks to Tesla's proprietary battery technology. And the Tesla Semi also has access to Tesla's vast supercharger network, which Tesla is in the process of upgrading to a megacharger network. Also, Tesla is a much bigger company with nearly $14 billion of cash on hand. So if Tesla needs to build new charging stations to facilitate more truck sales, they can easily do that. So I am not saying that Nikola won't be able to sell any Nikola Tres, but I do think Tesla will severely limit their sales from the very beginning. Also, over the long run, battery costs and efficiencies are continuing to come down. And it is entirely possible that 10 years from now, battery electric semi-trucks will have high enough ranges that hydrogen semi-trucks won't make any sense. When a Tesla Semi can go 1,000 miles on a single charge, there will be virtually no advantages to a hydrogen semi-truck. In fact, we are already seeing that the 500-mile range of the Tesla Semi is enough for most customers. Walmart Canada recently tripled their orders from 40 semi-trucks to 130 semi-trucks this past week, and the biggest reason they cited for the increased order was the 500-mile range. Walmart Canada said 500 miles was good enough to allow their drivers to go to their destinations and return without needing to recharge. So 10 years or even 5 years down the road, it is not crazy to think that Tesla semi-trucks will be getting upwards of 700 miles of range, if not more. Now, obviously, we will have to wait and see what the real-world performance of the Nikola Tre will be before drawing any conclusions, but Nikola doesn't have anywhere close to the manufacturing capabilities of Tesla, and therefore it is silly to think that Nikola will be able to make a similar product at a similar price point. Also, like I've said in my previous videos, Nikola doesn't have any proprietary battery tech, so they will most likely get much lower ranges than the Tesla Semi will. My prediction is that the Nikola Tre will get somewhere around 300 miles per charge and will sell for a lower price than the Tesla Semi. And honestly, it will have to sell for less than the Tesla Semi, otherwise no one will buy it. But even if it does sell for much lower, 300 miles of range might not be enough range to entice buyers. So even though the Nikola Tre might be cheaper than the Tesla Semi, it doesn't mean it will sell in large numbers in the US. So while the timeline of milestones is a reassuring sign from new management, I am first unsure of their ability to hit their goals, and second, I am unsure of their ability to run a profitable business and generate enough sales of their trucks. For investors, what this means is that it is highly likely that Nikola stock will trade relatively flat for many years. Also, if Nikola is trading above the $12 a share price at the end of the year, we could see a big drop in their stock price. This will make it harder for them to raise capital and meet their goals they've outlined in their timeline. Therefore, I personally can't see any reason to invest in Nikola until 2023 at the earliest. And honestly, my prediction is that they will either go bankrupt or be delisted before 2023 anyways. But even if Nikola can avoid bankruptcy and accomplish all their goals by 2023, I still wouldn't recommend investing in Nikola stock. This is because hydrogen in America is still most likely 20 to 30 years away from mass adoption. Also, I don't see hydrogen ever catching on with personal vehicles. So hydrogen, in my opinion, will always be a niche segment of the market. Also, we are already seeing that improvements in battery technology from companies like Tesla are making hydrogen semi-trucks less desirable. So in my opinion, even if you are bullish on Nikola stock, it is best to stay away until we can see a validation of Nikola's business model. And according to the Nikola Bulls over at JP Morgan, they are pushing the growth story out to 2027. So even they realize this will be a very long process for Nikola, and there are no guarantees that Nikola will ever be a successful company. So if you guys found this video informational, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also drop a comment below with your thoughts. Do you think Nikola will be able to execute on their new plan? Let me know below. Also, check out my channel where I have a lot of other videos that I think you will find interesting and informational. And with that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.